Very good evening to all of you. Thanks for joining us here on this Sunday edition of the Urban Debate. I am Afrida Rahman Ali. Now, in July 2019, B.S Yediyurappa was sworn in as the Chief Minister of Karnataka again after the Congress JDS government collapsed because of multiple defections. Now, cut to Saturday, that is yesterday, when Chief Minister B.S Yediyurappa himself, while inaugurating over 1,000 crore rupees project in his home district of Shivamogga, made in what was seen as a farewell speech. Now, of course, there's been a lot of action around this entire issue of B.S Yediyurappa's exit, with Lingayat leaders and the Seer community coming together in his support. Many questions now arising, particularly with the uncertainty that continue to prevail in the BJP in Karnataka over the replacement of a tall Lingayat leader like B.S Yediyurappa. So what is happening right now is that all eyes are on the decision tomorrow. 26 July is the date. We are told that B.S Yediyurappa will be asked to step down as the party completes 2 years in power. But of course, there are multiple questions that arise now. Yediyurappa maintains that he has not been asked to resign, but he will do what the party leadership asks him to. So we are going to ask the pertinent questions at this hour. What exactly are BJP's compulsions to replace B.S Yediyurappa at this stage in Karnataka, despite being considered singularly responsible for consolidating the vote bank for the BJP and for, of course, gaining the fortunes for the party in the state? Why has it become imperative to replace B.S Yediyurappa? It is very well known that he is responsible and he has espoused the caste identity politics in BJP's favor. For a state reeling under devastating floods, is this appropriate and advisable to have a leadership change at this juncture? Also, of course, the party is very much aware of the price to pay for antagonizing someone like Yediyurappa, who was in fact brought back into the fold before the 2019 elections. Now, other question, and of course, this is the elephant in the room in terms of who will replace Yediyurappa. Is there a Tina factor, or is there a problem of plenty, as some BJP leaders are suggesting? So let me welcome Aiyshwarya Mahadev, National Spokesperson of the Congress Party, Manu Ayyappa, Chief of Political Bureau of the Times of India, and Vivek Reddy, Spokesperson of the BJP, joining us. So coming to you first, Mr. Reddy, all eyes are on the party leadership at this point. First of all, good evening to all three of you and thank you for joining us. Mr. Reddy, now the issue is that here is a man who was earlier, who had an unceremonious exit. He was brought back to the party fold. 2 years down the line in power, what exactly is the BJP's compulsion today that B.S Yediyurappa's exit seems imminent, something that Mr. Yediyurappa himself has indicated on multiple occasions?
Well, I think Mr. Yediyurappa himself has suggested that this is a scenario where the party is now considering younger leadership. And younger leadership, because 75 is the line along which the party usually allows political involvement and engages with politics. That's the Lakshman Rekha that is drawn. But now the interesting issue is that Yediyurappa, being a tall leader,
yes,
and having a wide support base in Karnataka, he had been given that exception amongst all the leaders. That's why Mr. Yediyurappa has tweeted that this exception given to him is, and the party has also recognized him as leaders. So the central high command of the BJP today has not yet taken a decision on the future Chief Minister of Karnataka, on the continuation of Mr. Yediyurappa. Perhaps after they take a decision, it would be right for us to comment. But the whole issue is that if at all it makes a move towards a younger leadership, it is because due to the evolving situation, the needs of a younger leadership. I think these are the issues that the party will look at and ultimately take a decision.
Okay, so 2 points you're making very clearly, Mr. Reddy, that on one hand, there's the issue of the age factor. It is something on principle that the party is following. Beyond 75, Yediyurappa is overstaying his welcome. Other point you're making is younger leadership. Now, that is an issue, Aiyshwarya Mahadev, plaguing both the major parties today. this dilemma of the old guard versus new guard. You may have managed to have the storm blow over in Punjab, but these are the big party decisions that haunt the Congress party as well. Siddaramaiah of the Congress party is making a lot of noise about how a Dalit leader should replace Yediyurappa. Why is your party taking that position in the state?
Before I answer that, Afrida, the one thing I want to talk about is just the timing of this is so absolutely unfortunate. There are floods in my state, there are landslides. You see COVID on the rise, the second wave. We barely survived, and the third wave, they say, is imminent. You see that Pegasus, you see that my government, when we were in power, you saw that our leadership, they had their phone possibly hacked. And you see massive scandal of corruption and obviously misadministration and maladministration in the BJP government. And this is what we need to highlight. While all everybody seems to talk about in Karnataka is now, and even on channels, is this whole idea of B.S Yediyurappa and whatnot. For the opposition, the priority are these issues. The priority are the citizens. You can replace him with whoever you want.
But your leaders in Karnataka are not saying that, Aiyshwarya, to be fair. They are only making their points around the caste dynamics. No one is saying that let the flood subside, let there be no leadership change.
If I may complete, please. Right? So the fact of the matter is, when you say you need younger leadership, you could have done it 2 years ago when you already gave Yeddyurappa, who was past the Margadarshak Mandal mark and was above 75 also. You obviously have internal strife, understood, sit down with your priorities. Now the idea was, why did Mr. Siddaramaiah talk about give a Dalit? That is because of Mr. Nalin Kumar Katil's comment about how they're all for progress and also the backward communities, and said put your money where your mouth is, and if you want to replace the CM, see, it is none of our business who they replace him with. If you do want to walk the talk, then make it a Dalit CM, because they accused us of never allowing a Dalit to become CM in the Congress.
But even here, Aiyshwarya Mahadev, the issue is your party is not speaking in a singular voice. Today you are telling on the show that this is the wrong timing, the focus should be on the floods. Siddaramaiah saying let there be a Dalit leader. There are Congress Lingayat leaders who are against the idea of replacing Yediyurappa. There is support for Yediyurappa from Congress leaders as well. Isn't that intriguing?
The one thing my CLP leader has said was, he says if you replace Yediyurappa, you'll replace one corrupt CM with another corrupt CM, because everybody in the BJP seems to be that. I'm talking about the issues plaguing the people that the BJP seems to have forgotten. Second thing is, when you talk about people who are speaking out about Yediyurappa and whatnot, you see that the person in question is the leader of the Veerashaiva Mahasabha, and he did it in his capacity as a caste leader. However, the party leadership will take appropriate action. We are nobody to comment on the internal actions or the politics of the BJP. But what my leadership has said is very simple, right? Either way, you're bringing somebody corrupt. You have spoken about us being an anti-Dalit party, then you walk the talk and do that as well. And this idea of
no, that is not fair. You can't just paint everyone in the same brush and say whoever comes in is corrupt. That is, of course, taking a very extreme position. Let's be fair. Let's bring in Manu Ayyappa also on this. Yes, I'll come back to you. Manu Ayyappa, what are the options for the BJP? Because the party is very aware of the price to pay. And can it really afford to antagonize someone like B.S Yediyurappa, who even though has very magnanimously said that, yes, I'm willing to step down, this seems to be pre-decided, but then at the same time, there seems to be this show of strength with the seers coming together. Even today, on the eve of this decision being taken, there's a major meeting happening. So why is that optics also playing out if Mr. Yediyurappa is anyway conceded to this decision?
Yeah, see, if you look at Karnataka politics for last 20 years for the BJP, Yeddyurappa has been the face of the party. Even after he left the party in 2012 and formed a new party, the BJP was forced to recall him, and they fought the election, 2014 Lok Sabha elections, in its leadership. So that has been the scenario. The reason for this is the BJP has never tried to groom a younger leader as a successor. Probably they could have done this 10 years ago, so that now there are a lot of options. So that is not there now, right now. Now what they're looking at is, most of them are inexperienced leader.
Okay.
And BJP High Command is really worried whether after Yeddyurappa they will be able to take that kind of a role. no matter Lingayat is a big issue because the party since BJP since 1990, after then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi removed Lingayat unceremoniously, then the Lingayat shifted the base to from Congress to BJP. Since then, the party has been getting. So now the point is, if they remove Yediyurappa also unceremoniously, the same thing could happen. The Lingayats could go back to the Congress. That's their worry now. So they have 3 or 4 options of a Lingayat leaders, but no, they don't really look potential. Reason is the only reason is they have not got any opportunity in the past. Either they should have groomed them by making them deputy chief ministers, ministers in somebody's cabinet so that they are groomed. That has not happened over the years. Now they are really struggling to find a face for the BJP who can fight the 2023 elections and 2024 Lok Sabha elections. So now there is
Manu Ayyappa, apparently Murugesh Nirani and MLA Arvind Ballad have been summoned to Delhi. They are being now touted as some sort of front runners for this position. So some movements are happening in terms of who the High Command is giving audience at this point of time. Even as Mr. Yediyurappa is coming back from Belgavi to the capital city in the state, there are movements of some leaders being summoned by the High Command. Do you think some options are being considered, Manu Ayyappa?
There are 4 options, in fact, from the Lingayat community. That is Arvind Ballad is, of course, the front runner, and also Murugesh Nirani. There is Basuraj Bom. There is Baswan Gowda Patil Etnal. These 4 are from Lingayat community. Of course, Yatnal, Ballad and Nirani belongs to the powerful subsect of the Lingayat community, which is called Panchamshali Lingayats. So the BJP might be considering replacing them. So Nirani and Ballad has been going to Delhi quite often since last 1 month. So possibly the party may decide, but there is another issue here. The party is thinking that why make BJP a Lingayat Brahmin centric party? We will make it a Hindutva centric party. That's the thinking going on. If that is the case, then some of the Brahmin come into play, like Prahlad Joshi or Vishweshwar Hegde Kageri and a few others.
Yes, let me have Vivek Reddy respond to this. Mr. Reddy, if you could respond to what Manu Ayyappa said, that the party has failed to groom anybody to that extent that anyone can match Yediyurappa's stature today. So you actually have a problem in your hands to replace him. Also, of course, because of the complex caste dynamics that Manu Ayyappa was mentioning.
I think usually when tall leaders are sought to be replaced, this sort of a vacuum prevails. It is not the absence of leadership that is now the problem. The problem is that the leaders after Mr. Yediyurappa, supposed leaders that thought of after Mr. Yediyurappa, there is so much to choose from. And there are many choices. There are many youngsters who have been groomed, and the party has real good personalities to fill that vacuum. So there is no dearth of talent. The only thing is the Central High Command will be looking at the dynamics of 2023 and how to lead the party to success in the 2023 elections. I think that is the priority now in looking at any issue pertaining to this. And apart from that, I don't think the party is looking at purely caste considerations. It has kept the field open and looking at all options available. And I think I would just like to add one pointer that it was Sidramaiah who was supposed to walk the talk. He was the one who proclaimed that you need to have a scheduled caste chief minister. But when the option for Parameshwar came up, Sidramaiah did not step down. He stuck to his guns. So just shedding crocodile tears is the policy of the Congress. That is what their experts
Okay, so there is Congress double speak. But yes, we are focusing on the issue right now, Vivek Reddy, of what you mentioned, that the fact that, there are too many options can also be an issue, isn't it? But Aiyshwarya Mahadev, here is an opportunity for the Congress party. I mean, this is in some way history repeating itself. You had the Lingayat community, which was a strong base for the Congress at one point. shifting loyalties, and now here an opportunity is presenting itself in the state of Karnataka to perhaps capitalize on it. But will the Karnataka Congress be able to do it? Aiyshwarya, please unmute yourself. We are not able to hear you.
Yes. Sorry, Afrida. So, before I talk about this sort of windfall you think that will come to us from this sort of turmoil within the BJP and with Mr. Yediyurappa, I think that the Karnataka Congress has been very proactively on the ground since the beginning of the pandemic. You see, our leadership has worked, has risen. The leadership cadre have risen, above and beyond their call of duty in order to serve the people. So we were either way.
Okay, we have lost Aiyshwarya, unfortunately, in the middle of the sentence. Vivek Reddy, you want to quickly respond to that point? The fact that, the over-dependence on the Lingayat community, in fact, I was just looking at the figures of Lok Sabha 2019 results. What it shows me, my research team has given me the figures, which shows 87% of the community voted for the BJP. So here is a community which is your strong support base. And we know how the Congress had to pay a price. And of course, the BJP also had to pay a price when the whole B.S Yediyurappa exit happened for the first time and he formed his own party. Given this over-dependence on this community and given the show of support which we are consistently being shown, can the party afford to lose a leader like B.S Yediyurappa? What gives you the confidence that you will be able to retain the same support base, replacing Yediyurappa with someone else?
Well, I think Yediyurappa is a very tall leader, and it is difficult to replace him. Let us accept that. But the point is that as time moves on, a new chief minister, if at all, the central wishes to appoint a new chief minister and replace Mr. Yediyurappa, I think the traction that he gains by taking people-centric decisions, moving around Karnataka, and exhibiting some leadership at this time of crisis during Corona, I think this is what is very important at this stage. The sort of leaders that perhaps will be chosen to fill this void, I think it is up to that leader and up to the BJP to take the agenda forward and ensure that the people, that they connect to the people. And it is that challenge that every political party will have to face. And it is everyday's challenge that I'm talking about. Because in today's politics, the atmosphere is very challenging. And the opposition is also very geared up. Therefore, it is up to our party to ensure that it meets the challenges of the opposition and connects to the people, and that we are confident doing. And that is why we say that any person who will be in the position of chief minister will have to take all communities along, all people along, and will have to ensure that the sort of resonance that and expectations that people will look for, those expectations are met. That's about what politics is. And that is what the BJP is out to serve for.
Yes. Yes, all right. I mean, for the sake of argument, let's take your point. But the fact remains is, again, quoting figures that we have, that the community can determine the outcome of polls in as many as 90 to 100 of the state's 224 assembly constituencies. So, Manu Ayyappa, this is how it looks like in terms of how the vote banks are poised in the state of Karnataka. Do you think the BJP is in a bit of a fix? Vivek Reddy wants us to believe that there are enough number of people and there's a problem of plenty, there are no dearth of options. What is your response to that?
Obviously, BJP has to select its next party phase, looking into all the factors, and caste will be, of course, an important factor because Lingayats are the major community in Karnataka. They form around 16% of them. So while the Okaligas are the next dominant caste, they are always along with the JDS and the Congress. BJP doesn't have much support from them, so they can't allow the Lingayats to move away from BJP. So they have to take the caste equations while selecting the next leader.
Right.
And Congress will be, of course, hoping that the Congress, the BJP makes the mistake of not selecting a Lingayat candidate. The reason is they can then already some of their leaders are already rallying behind Yediyurappa and telling the people that he shouldn't be sacked. The reason is they are trying to swim in the troubled waters. The intention is to tell the people the BJP a very important Lingayat leader. So the BJP is not the place for them, for the Lingayats. So you come back to the Congress. That's the message they want to send it.
Okay.
So let's see what transpires in the next. Of course, tomorrow
Okay,
is the
let's get a quick last word from Aiyshwarya on this. This is a very interesting point. Aiyshwarya, what Manu Ayappa is saying, that the reason why Siddaramaiah is actually proposing a Dalit leader is because they want to now capitalize back on the Lingayat community, and therefore it's a very it's a studied kind of an approach that the Congress actually does not want a Lingayat leader to be replaced by another one. Is that true?
Honestly speaking, I think you should ask my CLP leader, Mr. Siddaramaiah, about that. But Afrida, as a closing comment, Vivek will say everything is hunky-dory, but the fact of the matter is when BJP replaces a chief minister mid-term, even after admitting he's the tallest leader, you realize that the rot runs deep and then there's a very severe problem. This is not about bringing young leadership. This is saying you have won states consecutively twice under the leadership, once legitimately and this time illegally, but you have come to power in the south through Mr. Yediyurappa, and if you're removing him mid-term, you understand that the problem is far deeper. The BJP will obviously not
all right,
get out.
interesting. Aiyshwarya also pitching for Yediyurappa to stay in office. That is interesting. I mean, of course, this community itself is a potent force. It's a formidable vote bank for any political party in Karnataka. Therefore, there is going to be a lot of politics over it. Thank you so much, Vivek Reddy, Aiyshwarya Mahadev and Manu Ayappa for joining us this evening.